What's up, you guys? This is Pitt. Welcome back to True Nerds. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. Today I'm going to do a review. It's a game that came back out all the way in 1989 on the Nintendo Game Boy. I'm not talking about Tetris. I am, of course, talking about Super Mario Land. This game is very near and dear to my heart. I remember playing it as a 3 or 4-year-old on my brother's Game Boy, believe it or not, and trying to beat it for the first time. I actually did not beat this game until I was probably in my teenage years, and it was always awesome to be able to play Mario on the go from time to time. Anyway, I'm going to be reviewing two versions of this game. I'm going to be reviewing the Game Boy version, which is the original, of course, and I'm going to be reviewing a reproduction. It's kind of like a hack, mod, whatever, version of Super Mario Land. It's called New Super Mario Land, and it's a Super Nintendo game, but it uses the new Super Mario Brothers like art style and like graphics. This game has a very interesting backstory to it, according to the Super Mario Encyclopedia. Originally, Nintendo wanted to port the original Super Mario Bros. Onto the Game Boy, but found that would have been too taxing for the system, believe it or not. They decided to design a Super Mario game from scratch. This is also the first Super Mario Bros. Game, Super Mario title, that Shigeru Miyamoto, the original creator of Super Mario, had no direct involvement on it. This task was left to Gunpei Yokoi, who actually not only created the Game & Watch games, which were insanely popular in the early 80s, but he also was the guy who created the Nintendo Game Boy, which is still one of Nintendo's highest selling consoles or handhelds in history. It's in the top 10 of like highest selling video game consoles of all time. Originally, this was going to be a pack-in title for the Game Boy. However, that honor went to, of course, Tetris, which Nintendo at the time owned the license for. Tetris was picked because it was more appealable to the masses. It was able to sell the Game Boy better, actually, than Super Mario Land. Anyone can play Tetris. It's easy to understand, and it's difficult to master. Mario was only for fans of not only Mario, but for platformers, understandably. So Nintendo went hard to work and created an entirely original Mario game with its own plot and its own levels and new enemies and power-ups and all that good stuff that Mario games have, and that the stuff that we have come to know and love about the franchise. So let's go ahead, fellow nerds, and dive into the wonderful game that is Super Mario Land. I'm going to start with the actual plot told through gameplay. In Super Mario Land, Mario must travel through 4 worlds in 12 levels, making this the shortest Mario game to date. Mario is on a quest to save Princess Daisy from the evil alien invader, Tatanga. The game starts in the kingdom of Barabuto, which is based in ancient Egypt, surrounded by pyramids and palm trees. Next is the kingdom of Muda, surrounded by hills and water. Based in the mythical kingdom of Atlantis, which sunk into the ocean eons ago, according to various mythologies, this world is also loaded with spaceships and robot enemies. Very weird, but this is Mario after all. There's the Easton Kingdom, based on Easter Islands in South America. As you can see, there's the famous statues in the background, and many of the enemies are based on those famous statues. This is actually one of my favorite worlds in the game in terms of platforming, but it outstays its welcome, much like the next world. And it's very dangerous to traverse, and I lost many lives in this world and also in the next one. But it's fun. And lastly, there's the Chai Kingdom, based on ancient China. Surrounded by bamboo trees and a lot of nods to Chinese culture in terms of the motifs and enemy design. This world actually has one of my favorite overworld themes in the game. Actually, you know what? It is my favorite overworld theme in the game. It's so catchy, and I do listen to it outside of the game. Now I'm going to dive into the enemies in this game, and this game has like the most unique enemies I've seen in a Super Mario game, and unfortunately, like some of the enemies in this game, this is the only appearance you'll ever see them in a Mario game. It's a Mario game, so tons and tons of Goombas. Koopas, which now explode. Piranha plants in the various pipes throughout the game. The Mechabon, which is a robot. Told you, spaceships. You're in Boo. The Bataton. And the Easton Kingdom, which fly. The Piapi, which is a Chinese ghost vampire, which do come back to life. Which only can be killed with the Super Ball, which I will cover later in the video. It's a fun enemy, and it's a cool enemy design, nonetheless. And many, many chickens. Yes, all the enemies in this game have the Japanese names, but not chickens, for some reason. This game has unique bosses like King Tonometsu, Dragon Sumetsu and Tamao, Hi-Oh-Hi, Bio Kington, and of course the Invader, Tatanga. This game does have a few power-ups. The one that's primary is actually pretty lame. 2 of them are standard, and 2 of them are situational because they're only in 2 levels, and you'll see what I'm talking about in just a moment. The Super Mushroom, which grants an extra hit. The Starman, which grants temporary invincibility. The Super Ball, which is lame. Marine Pop for the underwater level in the game. Awesome stuff. The Sky Pop for the flying level. And the Heart, which grants 1 up. In summary of the Game Boy version, I found it to be really easy. You can beat the game in easily half hour. I've actually seen speedrunners do it much faster. When this game ends, you can start over, and you can do like a new game plus, which actually like replaces some of like the enemies or adds like more tougher enemies. This game also has built-in continues. For every 100,000 points you get an extra continue. Also, this game is actually very generous on lives if you can get the bonus stage at the end, which I'll just briefly show you how you get that. At the end of each level, there is a top platform, which when accessed, you can access the bonus stage, which grants you up to 3 lives, or in this case, a Super Ball flower. Most of this game's difficulty revolves around some tricky platforming, some really dumb enemy placement, and more importantly, the stiff controls. Since Shigeru Miyamoto was not involved in this game, as stated previously, it doesn't like play as well as actually the traditional Super Mario Brothers. You can't really control your jumps in midair as well, and there was many times in the game that I just fell off platforms which I should have landed on very easily. Overall, though, it's still a pretty easy game, but now we're going to jump into New Super Mario Land, which is as stated previously, like a ROM hack, but it's really actually been a game that's been built from the ground up, but it uses many assets from New Super Mario Bros., as you will see. This game uses many assets from New Super Mario Bros. For the Nintendo Wii, including Mario's sprite, that's just pretty obvious. I like the new enemy designs here. Phenomenal job there. This is actually one of my favorite things about this version of the game. Phenomenal job. One-Up Mushrooms have returned. Also, the original Starman thing came back as well. Wall jumping is in this game, which I don't like, to be honest with you. And the Tenga in this version is almost impossible to fight, by the way. Now, which version would I recommend of this game? The original, to be honest with you. The original, actually, believe it or not, is easier to play. The new Super Mario Bros. E version that I just showed you is awesome, and I really admire the fantastic work that the developer put into making it. However, since there are bigger sprites in the game, there is a bigger hitbox. And there were actually, I died more, believe it or not, in this version. Mainly because of wall jumping. Wall jumping actually works in detriment to this version, believe it or not, because Super Mario Land was not designed with wall jumping in mind. I do like the little touches, like bringing back the original Starman theme, and I like the fact that they brought back one-up mushrooms for it instead of using the hearts as they are in the original version for one-ups. But it was, there's certain things about the original version that are just more appealing to me, such as like the original compositions of the songs that are used in the original version are much catchier than the ones in the new Super Mario Land version. And that fight with Atanga, this is just a nitpick about the Atanga in the new Super Mario Land version, but he's actually almost impossible to fight in the newer version of this game. He's much easier in the Game Boy version. That's just being nitpicky, like I said, but something I just wanted to point out. This is a great first attempt for a Mario game on the go. If you're going to play a Mario game on the go, though, I'd recommend its sequel, Super Mario Land 2 6 Golden Coins, that plays more traditionally like an actual Super Mario game, and it actually has like better sprite work and better enemy designs, and I just like the setting of Super Mario Land 2 better. So I will review that at some point down the road. You can get this game very easily. You can buy a actual physical cartridge for fairly cheap because it's a fairly common game. You can buy it on eBay, or you can go to your nearest local game store. I'm assuming they have probably tons of copies of them somewhere. As for digital download, you can download it on the 3DS and new 3DS Virtual Console. I believe you can get it for $4.99, which is dirt cheap. As for the new Super Mario Land version, the only place I saw it available was at shopflashbackgames.com. I found out that website from actually Pro Jared, believe it or not, because he reviewed Final Fantasy V recently, and he had a physical cartridge of it that someone ported onto an actual Super Nintendo cartridge, because Final Fantasy V originally only came out in the Super Famicom, but I'm digressing. If you do order from that website, however, prepare to wait like about a month, because they actually put it on a custom Super Nintendo cartridge, and they actually put like a custom label on it and their own branding and whatnot. It's really a high quality product, and I'm glad that I own it. It's a great piece in my collection. And I just want to say to everyone, I appreciate all of you. I hope that you watch the other videos that are still on my channel, and I did this because I wanted to see that I actually could do a video with editing and jump cuts and like voiceover work, and I spent a lot of time doing this, and I'm glad that I did, because I needed to prove to myself that I could do it. And if even one person watches this video, I would be very ecstatic. So with that said, this is Pitt, you're one step closer to becoming a nerd. Thanks for watching.